So we previously brought you the news of Hillary Clinton's Masterclass, and now we've got a new one for you. Let's go ahead and throw this up on the screen. Former President George W. Bush is teaching a masterclass in authentic leadership. Saagar, I know you're going to want to hurry and sign up for that one.
Yeah, I do.
They say, learn to listen and inspire a culture of teamwork. The 43rd U.S. president teaches leadership skills from his career, opens up about painting. Step inside the Oval Office with the newest instructor in our White House series, President George W. Bush, with insight from former First Lady Laura Bush. The former commander-in-chief opens up about the tough calls and life lessons that shaped his career. Develop and own a leadership style that's true to you, and learn to lead by connecting personally with everyone in the room.
Yeah, okay, interesting. You know, I really encourage people to not take this masterclass and to actually read a book about George W. Bush. He genuinely might be one of the most mediocre, terrible presidents that we have ever had in American history. And it's difficult because so much of his image has been overshadowed by what happened with Trump and even Obama. Like, people honestly just wanted to move on. I do not blame them for doing so. But this is the person who, you know, not only came in on strange auspices in 2000, you know, it's not like the country was doing so well, squandered probably one of the best moments to actually try to come together post 9/11 after this horrific disaster. Not only that, invades Iraq on false pretenses, refuses to abandon course, lies to the American people, abandons like bedrock civil liberties. At the same time, the global financial system is all becoming precarious. And then it just completely explodes and he just leaves and, you know, takes up painting. And then 5 years later, it's like, oh, it's all good, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
The guy, he's a nice guy. He's like appearing with Ellen. It's so shocking. Like, when you read his mediocrity as a child, all the way working up, you know, to becoming the Texas governor. I mean, what did he do before that? Like, he was the owner of the Texas Rangers. Not even the real owner, the part owner.
I mean, it begins there with like, yeah, he was the Bush family fail son.
Yes. Literally.
Totally mediocre in every way. Would never, ever have come anywhere close to the presidency if not for the famous last name. Just total like political legacy admission, right? So you start with that, and then you end up with, you know, however much you want to say he was steering the ship or he was just being controlled by Cheney and the neocons. It really doesn't matter because ultimately it happens on his watch. I mean, imagine you're an Iraqi who had your life and people in your family like killed in war, seeing this and this like this celebration of George W. Bush and total rehabbing of his image and total erasure of what happened not very long ago in our past, in the history of the world. It is wild. And, you know, and it's not just Iraq. Like, think about the failed response with Katrina as well. That was absolutely devastating. Think of the way that, you know, his actions in office lead up to financial collapse, the reverberations of which we are still dealing with and which shaped our politics for decades. Like, this man, through his mediocrity and through, you know, his allowing himself to be a vessel for these like powerful and extremely ideological interests, he did so much damage to America at a really, really critical moment when it was like time for us to sort of like reset for the new era and, you know, reform some of the excesses of capitalism. And, you know, instead he squanders so much of our wealth, attention, and treasure, contributes to this total sense of like nihilism and the fact that like you can't imagine that our government could accomplish anything ever.
I think
we could go on at
forever.
Yes.
Like with this guy.
Yes, but. And then, you know, it also says everything about the liberal media, how shallow they are and how desperate just to go after Trump that they feel it necessary to rehab this dude in order to make their point.
It's just so bad. Anyway, best W bio I read was by Gene Edward Smith. I think it is literally called W. And W refused to speak to him because Gene Edward Smith, he wrote a real biography.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, like this is how it actually all went down. And, you know, some of the other ones written about W are a little bit more sympathetic, or, you know, here's the only redeeming quality about him. He's incredibly fit for his age, which I do think is cool. You know, I think on the morning of 9/11, this is actually shocking, he ran a 7-minute mile pace for 3 miles. And he was like 60 years old.
Wow.
He was in the 99th percentile of his health. So I guess props. And he did get sober, which is, you know,
I mean,
that's a good
here's the thing about him is I have zero doubt that he's one of these people, if you meet him on a personal level, you're like, what a nice guy.
I've
what a
heard
nice
the
guy.
same thing from everybody.
And it's the different, I mean, but that can be true, and it can also be true that he did things and made decisions that were absolutely, completely immoral, devastating, and had horrifying consequences for our nation, the world, and hundreds of thousands of Iraqi citizens.
Very well said.
All right, guys. Love y'all. Have more for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.